Trello cards are where all the action in Trello takes place. They're really the meat of using Trello, and today I'll be sharing with you my 3 most used card features. Now, in case you don't know me, I'm Mariah and my business is Bloom Hustle Grow. I help service-based entrepreneurs get their business operations organized and optimized. I've been using Trello for over 4 years in my own business, and I could not imagine doing business without it. I love sharing tips about using Trello. Please join me each Thursday for a new Trello tip. Let's dive into those card features. For this example, I'm going to be using my content bank board. So this board houses all of the blog posts that I've published. So as you can see, this is a very colorful board. So we're going to dive right in, and my very favorite feature and one I clearly use a ton is actually to attach a graphic to a card. So you can see right here, I have a graphic attached to this card. We can remove the cover like that or make it the cover. So I really like to use that to help my cards stand out, and it helps me easily find cards that I'm looking for. And that is done on the attachment feature. So you can go to the computer and you can upload any kind of file. I'm just showing you a graphic here, and we can make this the cover. Or go back to the one, and it comes down here under the attachments. Under the attachment feature, you can also attach using Trello. So we'll attach a blog post here and it shows up like this. You can also attach using Google Drive, Dropbox, Box, or OneDrive. So for these, you do have to authorize Trello access to those drives. It really is going to depend on what software that you use within your business. The other really wonderful thing, though, about the Trello attachments is that you can attach any website, any link using this box right here and make that an attachment on a card. So, for example, here is a blog post. I can just grab the URL, paste it here. I can name it whatever I want or leave it blank, and it'll show up right down here under attachments. And when I click here, it automatically opens a window and takes me to that blog post. So I love, love, love just being able to grab that URL link and attaching it right here. I actually use this feature quite a lot with my Google Drive. So instead of having to search through my Google Drive to find the file I want to attach, all I do is pop right over here, grab the URL, and attach it. And so I do this a lot, like when I'm drafting blog posts, things of that nature. I'll pop the Google document right in here, and it shows up right here, and I can click it, and it takes me to that document. You can also drag and drop files in. So I just grabbed a file off my desktop, and it's right here. There's a lot of different ways that you can attach files to your cards, and I find this to be one of the best features of Trello because, again, you're not searching through bookmarks, you're not searching through file folders to find what you need to do certain tasks. For example, I have an Instagram card, and what I do is I have every single thing that I need to create an Instagram post attached right on this card. So I have a folder where that's where I write all my captions at. I have a link to Later, which is my scheduling app, so I can just click that right there. I have a link to Instagram in case I want to look at my profile or my grid. And then I have a hashtag document that I use. I have that linked right here. Every single thing when I'm ready to come and schedule for Instagram lives right here on this card, and they're all attachments that I've used. So that's why I love the attachment feature, is because it can streamline your workflows so quickly, and you're not distracted by like going in the email, looking for your login, or, like looking for that bookmark or any of those things. Everything can live right on this card that you need to get to work on a particular task. The next feature that I want to talk about is the checklist feature. And let's go into this card because I have some checklists on there. This is a blog post, and I have a blog post checklist. So these are the steps I need to make sure I do when I'm getting ready to publish. I have social media sharing. This is my list of all the places that I want to share it and make sure that I do that. I have Facebook groups, which is not something I really do anymore, but I used to do promos in Facebook groups like promo days, and I had a list for that. And then I also have Pinterest group boards. With that, I just make sure like, okay, I've pinned it to be scheduled through all these boards. These colors represent groups of boards that I use within my Tailwind workflow. Checklists can be used to make sure you're following all your steps. It can be used to give people instructions. It can be used for steps in the process. It can be things that need to be completed related to that task, like my social media sharing. Am I promoting it in all the places that I want to promote it? It can be to keep you on track or keep a certain task on track. Have we made the graphics for this particular blog post? Have we written the social? Whatever your steps are in a process, it can also be directions for a process. So if you're working with somebody else or you're trying to document your standard operating procedures, checklists can definitely come in handy there. You add a checklist just by going here, and you have the option to start one from scratch or to copy one. So let's just start one from scratch. It's just like this, and you can just type anything in, you add it there. You can also cut and paste anything from like a Google Doc or an email. So if you have the steps written out, you can just cut and paste them into your Trello card, into your checklist. I'm going to show you that. For this function, they do need to be separate lines, but you can just merely copy and then paste it here, and it's going to automatically make those each individual items. You can also put links into your checklists. We'll grab this link again. And it does become a clickable link within here. You can also add Loom videos. So I just took the URL for Loom. So if you drop a Loom in here, like for instructions for somebody, they can actually play it straight from the card. I've muted this, but this is how that would work. You can also drop links to cards in here. So let's just grab the link to this card, and it shows up like this. And then when you click it, it opens that card from a different board. It could be from the same board. You can also, from the checklist, convert any checklist item to a card. So then this creates another card in the same list, and it goes away on the checklist. There's a lot of different ways you can kind of style your checklist and use that. You can also use, if you have repetitive checklists that you need added to cards, you can do that as well. So if you come up here to checklist, and then you can choose what checklist you want to copy from another card on this board. We're going to just do the blog post checklist, and it's going to add it right below the other one. So just like that. The other feature that I wanted to talk about today is labels. So you'll see right here, these are all labels associated with this card. Labels are a great way to organize your information, and you may do it to organize topics. You may do it so that you know what step in the process this particular card / task is in. You may utilize it to alert people of next actions. There's a lot of different ways to use labels. I use them a lot, particularly on this kind of board, because it's more of an information board. It's less of a doing board. Most of my labels on this board is to help keep my information organized. So a big one that I use is CTA. So here on this one, it's CTA, the Simplified Marketing Plan. So these CTAs are typically opt-ins or paid programs that I'm talking about in these particular blog posts. That way, if I want to get rid of an opt-in or I want to switch out an offering, I know where those live within my blog posts, and I can easily search. So if you go here, search cards. So there are a lot of options in this search, but I find labels are the easiest way to search. And we'll just do CTA, the 7 Essentials of Biz Ops. So that's a new opt-in that I have. And so I have my opt-in right here. And this has all the information about that particular opt-in. And then because I've labeled these blog posts, so this is where I'm promoting this particular opt-in on these blog posts, so that they pop up right there for me. You can still see like how many cards would be on these lists, but it just gives me the cards that have that particular CTA attached to them. And you can go back here. Another way I might use it is if like I want to update some blog posts. I'm like, okay, what did I publish in 2017? That may be a good time for me to update that particular blog post and republish it. So then I can easily find any that have Biz Tips 2017 as a label. The other way that I like to use labels is if I'm working with a team, it does help to keep track of where a particular task might be in the process. For instance, one example is that I used to work with a team on content creation. So we had a graphic designer, we had somebody who would set up the newsletters, we had somebody else who would do copy. So that's a lot of moving pieces. And we would utilize labels, for instance, when it was time for me to review it and then move it on to the next person, we would just have Mariah review. And while I could definitely be assigned to the card and find cards that way, it was actually much quicker for me to just look for cards that I had to review because I knew, okay, this is assigned to me, but it's more I need to look at it and move it on to the next step, not this is a task that I have to perform, if that makes sense. So it can definitely be used to help streamline your processes. If processes in different stages and different steps, and it might be hard to track it using the lists because you want lists to be representative of topics or timelines or something else instead of like what stage in the process it is in. So I hope that makes sense. So labels are right here on the card. And you can create a new label here, and these are the only colors that are available to you. But it is a little bit limiting. So if you see on my cards here, you can actually read what the label is. And this is a Chrome extension that I use called Tray Labels. And eventually we'll do a video all about that because that is one of my favorite extensions. And that allows for the label to show on the front of the card. Otherwise, it would just be a color on the card. Because labels are limited, I definitely recommend that you name your labels and try to have some kind of system in terms of color. Like sometimes that can help. We'll create a new label, we'll just call it test, and we'll make it yellow, and you just hit create and it pops up right here. If I want to take the label off, see this little check mark, I would just check that and it takes it off. If you want to change the name of the label, you can do that here. You could also change the color if you want. So if you edit a label, let me just put that here. And then if I edit it back to test, you're gonna see it change. See? So don't edit a label unless you want it to change on all of your cards that you have on that board. Again, that's how you take it off. You of course can search your labels. If you're just starting a board and you don't have all the cards, but you know what labels you want to utilize, what I recommend is go to Show Menu, More, and Labels here from the Board menu, and then go ahead and create whatever labels that you want utilized on that board. So if you're just getting started and you don't necessarily have cards that need to have all the labels, you can go ahead and set up the labels that you want utilized on a particular board from the Board Labels menu. And then they're going to be an option in your card anytime you do that. But of course, any label that you create from the card will be added to this list as well. I do really like utilizing labels to help me categorize and organize information, as well as helping me keep on track with multi-step processes that I may be doing for a given task. So that's it for today's video. Attachments, checklists, and labels are the 3 card features that I definitely utilize the most across all of my boards. And I hope it gave you a good idea about what those features can do. If you want to learn more about what Trello can do and more about the features in Trello, I do have a Trello one-on-one course where I walk you through the main features of using Trello, and I give you some of these tips and tricks about using checklists and attachments and all the other wonderful features that Trello does offer. So if you want to get a kickstart in learning how Trello works, I do recommend the Trello one-on-one course.